Okay, ladies and gentlemen, before I begin speaking about my experience as a woman in the military, please allow me to start by thanking the headquarters of Allied Air Command and especially their Deputy Commander, Lieutenant General Pascal Delers, for their invitation. I speak for all French officers when I say that it is a great honor to speak in front of the Allied military authorities. The honor is even greater for me, as the subject of our discussions today is very dear to me. Seminars such as today's represent a tremendous opportunity for us all to share our experience, to bond and exchange our points of view. This is how we will all succeed, each and every one of our armies, in changing mentalities and laying the foundations for an equal future. I encourage all participants to share their thoughts and reactions with me at the end of my presentation. I would ask for your indulgence in regards to my English. And just to explain something, I'm with Lieutenant Guillemard here.
Good morning.
She's with me and is able to translate if necessary. My journey in the military began with the preparation of the officer's exam, as I'm sure many of you did. After finishing high school, I followed a 2-year-long intense exam preparatory class at the military school Prytanée Nationale Militaire in La Flèche in the west of France. Back in 1988, this establishment was the only military school allowing women at this level of study. I had recently graduated from high school in Lyon, and I knew I wanted to serve in the military, although I did not know whether it would be within the Air Force, the Navy, or the Army. I was very fond of sports. I practiced fencing at competition level. I liked the idea of serving my country, traveling and being in contact with men and women from all social backgrounds. At this stage, I never imagined that I would one day command an 8,000 strong unit. During these 2 years, I realized I was a woman, or rather that being a woman could pose an issue. I was confronted with young men who believed that women's only use was to bear children, but not to bear deadly weapons. This minority liked to think that us girls were here to find a husband more than pass the final exams. At this point, I knew what to expect next. But that is not all I found. I also found genuine camaraderie, friendship, mutual aid, and love of sports. I can honestly say that if I passed the Saint-Cyr exam, it is thanks to this mutual aid and the will to succeed as a group. I was accepted into the military school of Saint-Cyr on August 29th, 1990, when I was 19 years old. The one sentiment that I retained from this experience, the drive of surpassing oneself, there are no words to describe the immense joy I felt when I finished the assault course under the astonished observation of the sports instructor. It wasn't easy to pass obstacles such as the plank, the wall, or the pit. I had to train in consequence and make up my own techniques to succeed. Men and women's physical abilities are different, and obstacles can be overcome in many different ways too. The way training is sought out is a real issue to consider. I believe that we should study and work towards custom-made training programs. At this stage of the course, boys and girls were tasked with achieving the same physical requirements. Finishing the 8-kilometer race, unpermitted to walk, and done so carrying a loaded backpack was a sufferance, but equally satisfying. Every step of the way, my physical abilities as well as my strength of will were challenged. This hardship not only reinforced my determination to surpass myself, it also allowed me to once again appreciate team spirit and in turn discover leadership. I learned to fit discreetly within a group, trying to be transparent so I would not attract untoward remarks from those who liked to draw attention to themselves to the detriment of an easy and obvious target. I built a strong shell and found comfort in a sympathetic group of comrades. When I graduated from Saint-Cyr, I chose Signal Corps as it would allow me to occupy operational positions to begin my career and more stable positions to follow. I was eager to lead a platoon and confront myself with reality. The beginning of my career progressed at a relentless pace. It was extremely gratifying. My role and responsibilities as a platoon leader, then as unit captain, were an extraordinary experience. When I arrived at the 51st Signal Regiment as a lieutenant, I remarked a feeling of incredulity, with some even asking themselves, "What is she doing here?" Turns out I led my platoon almost as any other lieutenant would have. Daily routine took over. There was no time to worry about the chief's gender. Training was waiting and missions needed to be carried out. I also experienced some disillusionments. In 1996, to prepare for a deployment in Bosnia on the Mount Igman, I led my unit through a very demanding training. I had organized an extremely challenging preparation, fit for what we were about to face in the Bosnian winter. In the end, one of my male comrades was chosen over me in order to protect me, they said. 4 months later, I ended up being deployed in Rajlovac, near Sarajevo, as chief of the Signal Command Post. As a woman, you are closely observed. Your every move is a source of discussion. You have to live by a strict principle of exemplariness. Misogyny, I never really felt it in operational units. Aside from the time a staff sergeant measured military value of a soldier by the number of push-ups they could do. I will not comment on that. I will only say that I can do push-ups, run with running shoes or combat boots while carrying a backpack. I can also swim, give orders, and stay lucid, etc. I would sum up by stating that I can carry out whatever is expected of a commanding officer. Following a successful entry in the École de Guerre, the French equivalent of the National War College, and having 2 beautiful girls, I had to explain to my human resources in a firm and convincing way that I was determined to command a regiment. Lucky I was confident, as I could have been unnerved by questions such as, "Does your husband approve? What about your daughters?" I calmly answered that obviously any projects of this importance were discussed with my husband and that my daughters were far too young to have an opinion. They were 2 and 6 years old. So I was making decisions for them. Had I stayed silent, I would have been put into the expert box on desk duty, but it was not my choice. After being transferred to the Army headquarters, I thought that I would never fulfill my wish to return to operational forces, but destiny decided otherwise, and I was sent to occupy the position of commander of the Operational Preparation Office within the 40th Signal Regiment in Thionville, east of France, from 2009 to 2011. I was back in direct command on the field, and I was deployed for 6 months in Afghanistan from January to July 2011. There was a major difference with my past deployments. My two daughters. I had already left for a few 4 of my 5 months long missions abroad before, but I didn't have children back then. This time, my daughters were 9 and 5 years old. I remember when I was at the airport in Paris, right before taking off for Kabul, one of my sub-officers asked me if I had children. She told me that she didn't and that she wouldn't never have left if she did. That made me feel very guilty. It is difficult, heartbreaking even, to leave for 6 months, knowing the risks, knowing that my husband would have to manage without me. But deployments are part of being in the military, and this job defines me. It wasn't the easiest choice to make, but I had to be loyal to myself. And it was what I really wanted. Later, in 2013, I was chosen to command this regiment, which I led in the Serval operation in Mali. This was a unique experience. It offered me to complete every mission a leader is given to carry out and left a hollow feeling when it ended. Why did I choose this job in the first place? Well, because I enjoy commanding, not in the sense of establishing authority over subordinates, but in the sense of leading a group to success. I enjoy drafting orders that lead men and women under my care to successfully accomplish the mission that was entrusted to us. I love seeing team spirit turn into cohesion, directed towards collective goals and general interest. I am also very fond of field action, collective problem solving, and overcoming difficulties together. In my opinion, this feeling is identical among my male comrades. Considering my experience and career, I can assure you that being a woman, having a family, and occupying a command position are not incompatible. Of course, it will mean making choices, putting in place organization, and instilling principles, especially with the person sharing your life and your family. I have always made an effort to share family moments such as breakfast or a dinner, participate in our daughters' activities, take time to talk and check everything is okay, help with homework, chat about issues at school, friendships, first love, and so on. Being a woman in the military shouldn't be addressed only to point out the difficulties, difficulties. I want to emphasize that I was supported by men, supervisors in military school, my platoon leader who, when I was alone, had a few kind words and checked that everything was okay, my chief of battalion who never saw any difference and would always remind us that a soldier is a soldier, whatever his or her gender. And last but not least, my first commanding officer who fought supervisors' prejudices and allowed me to command a node center. The staff of my future regiment initially decided to give me a position they thought to be more suitable for a woman. I was supposed to supervise the installation of command posts in permanent structures with amenities. But what I wanted was to be sent on the field, set up antennas, lead my 30 soldiers and their 13 vehicles, 10 of which were heavy trucks. I will forever be thankful to the colonel who had the courage to fight the prejudices of his headquarters to allow me to occupy this position. Along the way, I had the support of the majority of my superiors, although there were exceptions. Some doubted by my vocation to the point that I sometimes wondered if I was at my place. In the end, I attained the rank of general, thanks in part to the support of those who believed in me. Today, I'm not able to give a definite assessment, but I can all the same give my perspective. I noticed changes happening. The French armed forces include more and more women, and our minister, Florence Parly, acts with determination in that matter. In March 2019, she launched an ambitious gender equality plan called Plan Mixité, which encapsulates 22 measures required in all the armed forces. If you are interested in the details of this plan, let me know. I will be glad to elaborate on the main aspects. I would like to emphasize on the importance of gender equality in the appeal of the French armed forces. To maintain a dynamic relationship between the nation and their armies, the people's trust in their defense and promote engagement, the armed forces need to address present-day concerns. The fact that the highest authorities of the ministry are deeply invested in favor of the reinforcement of gender equality within our ranks illustrates that soldiers' aspiration constitutes the top floor's objectives. For several years, women in the ministry have been working towards more open-mindedness through a constructive dialogue with the hierarchy, promotion of collectiveness with the design of improving women's position. On a personal level, I chose to engage through the association Avec les Femmes de la Défense. This association allows men and women to join and counts to date 10% of male members. As other similar structures, this association allows its members to share experiences, sponsor new recruits, and work on proposals. Whatever their field, status, rank, or unit, its members have the same message. Women are equally legitimate as men to occupy any position. As Geneviève Darrieussecq, Delegate Minister of the Armed Forces, said, being a woman should neither be an advantage nor a handicap. Associations such as Avec les Femmes de la Défense show the mobilization on the major societal preoccupation in all the ministry. It participates directly in a better consideration of gender equality. The French armed forces are not an enclave within society. They live within their time. To conclude, I would like to point out a fact. Women are soldiers with the duties and the rights implied, same as men. Equality between men and women starts with equality of rights. Figures and charts are only the tip of the iceberg. As a woman in the military, I focus on assuring that I'm perceived as an army general and no more, no less. I am well aware that the path may be long for those who show all the qualities and skills required to command and serve our country, to reach the positions they deserve. I truly believe that our forces will be victorious on this field as they are in others. So thank you very much for your attention. I will now enjoy hearing your remarks and answer your questions.